dollars a
like
day.
It's easier to
small
read.
blocks away.
Yeah, I know.
I was not
There's
worried
another
about
lot
that.
right around the
So
corner
instead I did this.
from here. It's not in the
Yeah.
best condition,
Then I can
but
stop
that's
and
a
I can bookmark it,
paid
you know, and I
public
can
lot. It's called Barrett's parking lot. There's the parking deck, our parking deck.
I got to.
I don't mind paying, I just didn't feel like
I
walking.
would agree. I'm excited about it. I got to
I hear ya.
do it all on Landy's goal sets.
Hey, Dustin,
Nice of you to join
there were
us.
a couple people are running late, he said.
Hey, Dustin.
I aspire to be a Nora, not a Dust.
I don't blame you.
One day I'll get it.
It's not that hard.
Yeah, it's December. We have our holiday
R&D team is
business
rocking.
after hours tonight,
I'll tell
yeah.
you what,
Which,
Hey!
Used to
a
always,
lot of them
we
have
used to always
stepped
do
up.
the same thing.
Oh, you didn't even.
yeah,
It just announces
it used to be at Jacob Henry.
signed 25 commitments.
They turned it over to Renaissance.
And they got more five-star
You don't have to register, but right now we've got like
Intrigue
110,
the Pace bus facility.
pretty good.
I think
But how many show
Well,
on a cold December night?
I'm doing murals now that you're bringing it up.
Yeah.
Kelly did that.
When is your party? That was the same night as ours in the past.
next Thursday.
Yeah.
All our
It's, the
events,
band goes.
minus our lobby
I
day,
think
second Thursday.
State University should not
So that's the 11th.
have an
So
exit.
I had,
There at Patrick Daly again.
Dude, I care about like everything, which is
so I,
mostly my
my
problem. So maybe you don't want to
3 boards.
care too
Gave
much.
I will.
Brian Kelly going
Parties
out
are
to
on that
Philadelphia,
night.
she's got 54.
And Lewis's presidential.
But I get over it quickly.
Is that night.
Big believer
Yours is that night.
Yeah, it's always that. It's like, there's always so many things going on.
Is it like?
I said, move it. I said,
You don't have capacity
move it to a Wednesday.
You wanted to
No.
go something.
Big jar.
And
Crazy.
I think they
Ours still like,
push
not,
that
if you look at like
money
all
back
the
into the
exits,
general.
Okay,
fund.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. You can fill in the gaps with sand
You
and
gotta make sure you put the big part of the
Yeah.
most important things in the
everybody
jar.
else.
glass and spacing properly is
Yeah,
important.
right.
It will be a metaphysical thing.
Got something else coming, you think, Jane?
The jar for the day and it's
Yeah.
locally, I get
The little
shit.
cares.
There's 5
The little cares does
Are
too.
they on their way?
Okay, but you're not.
We can start, I mean, they're late. Forum.
I mean,
We definitely have a quorum.
Okay, let's get going. Mr. Rolfe.
We'll call the meeting to order. And if you would take the,
Okay, we can start it now. Sorry, go ahead.
we will call the meeting to order.
Okay, this is the December 3rd meeting of the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee. Do we have Mayor Darcy?
Here.
Councilman Cardenas is running late. He should be here soon, though. Ms. Bottomley?
here.
Mr. Doris?
Here.
Ms. Gruenberg?
Present.
Ms. Howard?
Here,
Mr. Martin? Not here yet. Mr. O'Hara?
Here.
Mr. Parker, not here yet. Mr. Pryor, let me know, he had something come up. He may be here later, but he's currently absent. Mr. Randich?
Here.
Mr. Rico?
Here.
Dr. Rouse?
Here.
Ms. Viveros?
Here.
Ms. Walker, also absent, not here yet. Mr. Stunich?
Here.
Chairman Rolfe?
Here.
Next on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes from November 5th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Martin's here. Hold on. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Take roll, Mayor Darcy.
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas, absent. Ms. Bottomley,
Yes.
Mr. Doris,
Yeah.
Ms. Gruenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Howard,
yes,
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. O'Hara,
Yes.
Mr. Parker, Mr. Pryor, Mr. Randich,
Yes.
Mr. Rico,
Yes.
Dr. Rouse?
Yes.
Ms. Viveros? Ms. Walker? Mr. Stunich?
Abstain, I wasn't here.
Chairman Rolfe?
Aye.
Okay. Next is citizens to be heard on agenda items. Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak on an agenda item? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to old business, of which there are no agenda items, which brings us to new business. And we will be discussing the vision, goals, and objectives document of the Joliet Comprehensive Plan. And we have here today our consultants, Leslie Roth and Priag, and they are going to lead us through the document with a presentation. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna stand over here so I can flip slides.
First, I just want to express some gratitude for the time and effort that you all have taken in sharing your thoughts, ideas, and opinions to get to this point in the process. We've been through 2 rounds of revisions, have collected comments from the public, a number of city departments, you all, and many others who have elected to review and comment on this document. This is a really pivotal time in the comprehensive planning process. Establishing the goals and objectives and vision for this process really lays the framework for the next several phases of the project. And so that's why we wanted to kind of spend a little bit more time in this phase of the project to make sure that we were capturing where we wanted to go and had a clear roadmap and framework to do that. Also that we all began to create a shared language around the visioning for each one of the key topic areas of the project. And that really is our North Star. So as we move forward with creating strategies, with creating the implementation plan, with identifying partners and continuing to build momentum and capacity for this project, we always will return to that vision and make sure and ask ourselves, are we accomplishing this vision? Are we leading from the front in accomplishing these goals? And so thank you so much for spending as much time as you did with this document and sharing yourselves as a part of this process. Today we'll talk about a few different things. We'll run through quickly a public engagement updates and the summary. We created a companion document to the goals and objectives document that is a summary of all public engagement collected to date and is a summary of all the events that we've had so far. I'm going to take you through each chapter of the vision and goals document, and we're going to pause after we run through the vision and goals for a little bit of discussion. And lastly, we'll have an introduction to phase 3, which are the key recommendations, and a few different events that will take place during phase 3 of the comprehensive planning process. Just a reminder where we are in the schedule. We are at the completion of phase 2, which is the vision, goals, and objectives document. After we finish this piece, we will move on to phase 3 of this planning process, which is the halfway point, and will result in a deliverable of key recommendations. Key recommendations are really the outline for the draft plan. So we move the goals and objectives into actionable strategies, and that is the creation of key recommendations. It's where we want to go next, and it's how we're going to get the stuff done, essentially, in the future. The last 2 phases are the draft document, where we put it all together, and the last phase of the plan, just a reminder, is a refinement of that draft plan. A couple things we didn't add to the schedule. Public engagement is ongoing and continuous throughout the entirety of the process. We do not include it as a phase because we feel like it should be integral. It should be integral to the process, and so it is ongoing, not only in formal opportunities like public workshops, but in informal conversations, one-on-ones, etc. And I will extend, again, an invitation to all of you. If you'd like to have a one-on-one with us, if you know folks that should be engaged with the process, please let myself or Jane know so we can make sure and include them. questions, comments so far before I jump into the actual document? Cool, okay, we'll keep going. So the vision and goals document had a lot of information in it. There is an introduction, what is it, how do we use this document? We do include a brief public engagement summary. This is abridged from the full summary that all of you have seen. It's on the website and will be an appendix to this document. We will talk a little bit about character areas. That is also in the vision and goals document and lays a framework for how we're going to think about land use and the experience of the city as a whole. This document also has vision and goals by topic area. I'm only going to talk to you today about the vision and goals. We're not going to go into each objective, but if there are objectives that you do want to talk about, we can do that during the discussion. And lastly, this document ends on key priorities. So these are key themes that we want to investigate in the key recommendations that we have heard many times now that are beginning to sort of bubble to the top as priorities. Interested to hear your feedback on that. They are not in any order right now. They are just listed as priorities that we've heard. We will get to kind of a ranking system later on in this process, but for now, we just want to know what's important. So chapter 1 starts out with overarching project goals. These are goals that we started the project with, that we answer the request for the proposal with, that the city has created as guiding elements to make sure that we stay kind of connected and aligned with other city policies and plans as we move through this process. So the first goal is to chart a vision for Joliet's future. This is, of course, the number one most important thing that we're doing today and why we're putting so much time and effort together collectively in creating something that is valuable and implementable. The second goal is responding to change and planning for opportunity. A lot has happened since the last comprehensive plan in Joliet. A whole generation of people have been born since then, and so we want to make sure that we are creating a document and a framework and strategies and an implementation plan for the future of Joliet as well. The third goal is to create a unified citywide framework. We know that Joliet is made up of a number of different distinct geographies. We know that there is, from talking to folks, including you all, that there's connections to different parts of the cities and that the city is experienced differently for all residents. But the one thing that we've heard over and over again is that people love it here. And so creating a unified citywide framework is a really important goal that we wanted to lift up. The fourth goal is to strengthen regional and local collaboration. While Joliet is a regional leader in a number of different ways, we are a part of a connected ecosystem. And Joliet is an economic driver that is a part of that ecosystem. So strengthening those relationships presents opportunities for Joliet to continue to strengthen the assets that the city already has. The fifth goal is a focus on implementation. I will say this over and over again through this process. This is a giant waste of time if we can't do anything about it. So this plan is meant to be implemented. It is implementation from day one. We started these conversations thinking about how are we going to do this and what do we want to do first. And we will continue pressing that button until we accomplish all the goals in this comprehensive plan. And lastly, empower local leadership. This is a plan not for us. We're just capturing the conversation and the goals and the priorities. We are the technical experts because we've written comprehensive plans before. This plan is for you. It's for your constituents, it's for your friends, it's for your colleagues. It is a guide for you to be empowered to make Joliet more successful than it already is. So if these goals are stated because it's important not only to keep them in mind, but to make sure that the way this comprehensive plan is used is useful to you specifically, each one of you in this room and all the communities that you represent. The second chapter in the goals and objectives document is community engagement. We've done a few things. We've talked to a few people in the first few months of this process. And so this document captures what we've heard and what some of those key themes are. We had a number of focus group interviews. We've all talked about this before at the beginning of the process. We've had conversations with council members to understand their priorities, their needs, their vision for the city. Spelling error in community survey. We had a community survey that ran for a couple months, and we were really astounded by the outpouring of interest in this survey. We collected over 2,000 unique responses, which is pretty amazing. We wanted this to be a statistically significant survey, and we completely blew that out of the water. So that was very exciting for us to see. We facilitated our first public workshop that some of you were able to attend, and we will be having a second public workshop in this next phase of the project after the new year as well. There's been a lot of other input that's been collected. Jane has had a number of conversations with a variety of constituents and city departments as well. So what did we learn in the community survey? As I mentioned, there were over 200 responses. There were also mailers sent out. A number of aldermen actually created Facebook posts, which was really cool to see, and some of you did too. There was also a really robust virtual campaign. There was emails sent out on a regular basis, and there were 6 key themes that kind of bubbled to the top of this, which created the framework of topic areas for the goals and objectives document. So we'll run through each one of those. In the full unabridged public engagement survey, you will see how many responses were collected from each zip code in Joliet. We noticed that in the first 3 or 4 weeks of this survey that there were a number of underrepresented zip codes, and so we made a concerted effort to make sure that there was active outreach to those zip codes, and those numbers actually did go up. That was part of what spurred the mailer campaign, to make sure that we were collecting diversity of voices within that survey. And the survey was also could be translated into a number of languages on the online version as well. So where English was not your first language, you were still able to participate, and we translated all those responses into so that we could integrate them into the public engagement summary. I know you've already probably heard a lot about this public workshop. We thought it was a big success. We had over 100 participants at the workshop. It was held at Joliet West High School on September 17th, so this was sort of a back-to-school event. There were students, actually, from Joliet West that participated in the workshop, and that was very exciting. We plan on being more intentional about our outreach to young folks in our next workshop to make sure that that age range is captured more accurately. And we had 6 stations during that workshop. What you love about Joliet, living in Joliet, working in Joliet, getting around, having fun, and quality of life. And each one of the stations had interactive exercises and souvenirs and take-home and craft items. So what were the key themes? The first one was quality of life. A lot of conversation around what people really love about Joliet and why they choose to stay here, raise families here, go to school here, or even return after moving away. That was really, really important. And from every station, after our facilitators debriefed, that was something that came up at every single station that we facilitated. Housing affordability and housing conditions was another theme. This group, we know it's also an important topic area, and for residents of Joliet, while in the public workshop we got a little bit more nuanced view of what each aspect related to housing really meant to residents, that part was really important in helping us tailor the way that we form the goals and objectives in this deliverable. Diversification of employment options and better paying jobs. This really dovetailed into workforce development, and while the comprehensive plan addresses primarily physical aspects of the city and land use and policy related aspects, we know that being able to attract new residents is related to what this comprehensive plan should be. So we wanted to capture those voices to understand how Joliet could strengthen the ability to attract new residents, and employment and workforce development is one of those. Community and culture, this was very important. Joliet has a lot of really wonderful neighborhoods. We learned about a number of different activities, programs, and other assets, community assets that residents really enjoy within each one of those neighborhoods, including outdoor space, parks, trails. There was a pretty cool contingent of people who avidly ride their bikes who told us all about the bike trail systems all over the county, which was really interesting. So really being able to express what people love about their community was another key theme that bubbled to the top. And that, dovetails into parks and community assets. I actually facilitated that station and learned a lot about how people use outdoor space and how people access parks, who's walking, who's biking, why they're going, and what they love doing there. And so this is an asset that Joliet has that not all communities actually have. Not only the actual outdoor space and the number of trail systems that come into the city, but also the active programming of parks. So people really want to celebrate that and continue to see improvement. Environmental considerations are important. These conversations really dovetailed into transportation, freight, and truck traffic. So we understand that throughout this process, there will be those kinds of intersectionalities, transportation, environmental justice, health, water, all these different kinds of things. And this was something that sort of began to bubble to the top during the public workshop. And lastly, the transportation and multimodal transportation systems, including bridges and sidewalk continuity. We have, in this group, have talked about these issues before. We've identified some opportunities in the existing conditions analysis, and we continue to develop those in the goals and objectives deliverable. I'm going to stop talking for a second and take a breath. Any comments or questions, observations about public engagement, the workshop, or anything that you've heard so far? Yes?
You said you had 2,000 responses, but 306 were considered statistically
Yes.
significant. Was that 2,000 responses the first response, or was that after you sent the additional mailers?
That is in total, including the mailers.
In total, okay.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
And it's people who answered the survey.
Yeah.
It's not who the survey was sent to, right? Yeah.
And you suggested that at the first public workshop, having 100 participants was successful. What has your experience been, to give us a sense? Because quite honestly, some of us were disappointed that it was not greater than 100.
Well, I flew down to St. Louis last week for a workshop and a total of 0 people showed up. So it's definitely better than that. I mean, it really depends. And, we talk about this a lot. What gets people to workshops? We actually, yesterday in the studio, we had this conversation and we actually polled. So in our office, there were maybe 40 or 50 people in the office. And we polled people to see how many of, you think architects and urban designers are definitely involved in their communities, like, they're on their planning and development boards. We figured about 5% of people actually went to a workshop or filled out a survey at some point in their career. So it depends on, do your kids have sports after school? Do you work second shift? Do you need to get dinner ready? Do you not have childcare? I mean, there's enough. Do you just not care? Did you fill out the survey and feel like that's really all you needed to do? Did you not, did it just skip your mind? So there's a whole variety of reasons why people do not come to workshops. We don't have an opportunity to ask them usually, why didn't you come? But we think that when 100 people show up, that it is a success, because in cities the size of Joliet, I would say usually, because we've done Waukegan's comprehensive plan, we did Chicago, the workshops generally have around that many, anywhere from 30 to around 100 or so. It also depends on how connected to the process or issues people feel. If they think personally, this is going to impact me, there's a higher chance that they will come add their voice, to the process. For example, the transit-oriented development process, people they felt very passionate about the way that it would impact them personally, which is why you may have seen higher levels of attendance at that planning process. Comprehensive planning processes, because they're a little bit 30,000 feet up, it takes a different level of communication for people to feel really personally connected to the process. So when we think about our second workshop, that's a part of our strategy. How do we get people to see themselves as participants in this, and really begin to want to influence the planning process outcomes? So it's a challenge. Have any of you asked folks that you know why they didn't come to the workshop?
I have.
What did they say?
It's a combination, right? And Leslie, I think you hit the nail on the head, right? It's like, oh, I had a thing. I had sports for my kids. Some people didn't know. Some people were told, hey, I got the mailer, but I got the mailer late. And I know we don't control the post office, so it's a little bit of everything, right? And I think that there's a little bit of, well, I don't understand how the comprehensive plan fits into my life, because frankly, it is a high-level planning document that, when you think, like, how does a comprehensive plan fit in my life? Your average resident probably doesn't know, but when you start talking about, like, well, it's zoning, right? So do you want more industrial development? Where do you want that industrial development? And it's making sure you take it instead of just these broad, high-level planning terms and bring it down to where residents are really at. And I think that there's an opportunity there to do that better. And I kind of want to add on, I said it before, I think that as we're looking at our next community engagement event, there is an importance to make sure that what we're doing online for engagement is really bolstered, because I think that we did try a little bit with the first event, but when the online engagement is go ahead, look at these PDFs and send an email. I love planning. I am hyper involved in my community. I would not do that, because pulling up a PDF and then, okay, well now I'm gonna type an email.
Do homework.
In a different, it's too much. It's too high of a barrier. So as we are looking at our next community engagement, I'd really like to see us do this in an intentional and meaningful way.
Great, thank you for that feedback. Other comments?
I think, for those that I encouraged to fill out the survey, and lifelong Joliet residents, I think they felt like they did their part, and why am I going to go out when I've already done, and you addressed this, but I do feel that strongly.
I think that I thought it was a fun event. I like the way it was set up, and I think with any footage, any video, the photos that you took, I think you can create a sense of fun around it. It really was an engaging process, and you don't want to miss this one. You want to be there for the second one. So I think there's an opportunity, especially with social media, to frame it as something you want to take part in that is interactive, that you're going to get to leave your mark on this plan, and I think there's a lot of opportunity.
I love that,
there.
thank you. Great. Let's keep moving. So we're going to talk a little bit about character areas. So character areas are a way that we are thinking about space and place in Joliet. So Joliet, as you know, has a existing land use map, and as a part of this process, we will create a future land use map. It will look very similar. It is color-coded by land use type, and those land use types that currently exist in the land use plan are listed across the top of this chart. It's various types of residential development, it's various types of commercial and retail development, there's cultural and entertainment, there's hotel, motel, kind of hospitality, there's institutional, there's religious, there's industrial, there's transportation land use, and then we added a couple more because we're questioning if we need to think about land use diversification in a different way because of the specific conditions of the city. The character areas that you see along the left-hand side of this are a way that we capture a place type, so what kind of place is it, what's actually happening there, and what is the experience we want to have in that place. So many times, the character area includes multiple land use designations so that we can create a whole place. We realize that even in your neighborhood, it's not just homes. There is streets, there's sidewalks, there's trails potentially, there could be some retail, maybe there's a school, maybe there's a church. And so the character areas are a way to capture what is actually there, how it should be used, and how it should be experienced. And so this dot bubble chart starts to talk about that. For example, in the central business district, there are a variety of land uses. There's open space, there's commercial retail, there's mixed use, and there's hotel motel. And there may be a couple other ones, but we want to keep this usable and understandable. So the central business district is not only kind of one area, it's not one land use. It's an experience, it's a place type, and it's unique from other places in the city of Joliet. So the character area idea is a way to capture that. Through the conversations that we've had and the analysis that we've done, we feel like it's very important to capture the nuance of different areas of the city. So that when we say neighborhood, we need to be really specific. Where are we talking about? What is the geography? Even in the way that we talk about, districts and neighborhoods in Joliet, it's very different. When we talk about the east side or the west side, when we talk about downtown, et cetera. So we want to make sure that we're being really specific in our recommendations for each part of the city. And we're capturing not only the land use, but also what we want it to be and what type of experience we want to have there. So that's the character area framework that we're using, and you'll see continue to be developed and refined as we move through this document. The character zone map or character area map that you see in the goals and objectives document begins to show you where some of these areas are. These are specific sort of archetypes, so that when we say legacy residential area, this is an area of the city that has specific unique types and can be kind of stamped around the city. There's more than one legacy neighborhood in Joliet. So we're showing you in this map an example of where some of those typologies are. Transportation hubs. There's more than one transportation hub in the city of Joliet, but we want to give you some recommendations that shape what each transportation hub can be and how it should be experienced and which land uses are appropriate for that specific type of environment. Similarly, educational. Many times educational, like Joliet Junior College, is its own sort of place. And there is a unique way that higher education institutions develop. This is a unique characteristic of Joliet, but if there's another higher education institution, if there are other educational campuses, we would stamp those around the city. These are the ideas that should be embodied in this place type. So this gives you an example of where some of those locations are within the city. The next piece of this, the goals and objectives document, is economic development. So I've written the goals up here. I'm going to read the vision statement out loud just because it is sort of our North Star for this particular part of the document. Joliet will encourage equitable investment in people and places that increases access to housing, jobs, and economic opportunity, and celebrates community identity. The goals for economic development really begin to describe what we mean when we talk about a vision for economic development, and it is future focused and it is visionary. The objectives further refine what the goals mean, and there's many of them for each one of these goals. This particular chapter and the way that we structured this document is inclusive of housing and neighborhoods. In the existing conditions analysis, if you remember, housing and neighborhoods was a separate chapter. So the housing and neighborhoods actually folds under economic development in this chapter. We thought that it was important, and the goals are unique, like you will see the goals that are specifically related to housing versus, for example, difference between jobs or walkable destinations or economic drivers. So these 5 goals begin to capture those overarching priorities of economic development. I'll show you a couple maps and we can have a little bit of discussion about that. All of these maps are in the goals and objectives document. We thought it was important I wanted to show you this map of housing because it's quite interesting to look at housing by year built and then median household income. So we've heard that while there is some good housing stock in Joliet, that there's room for improvement, and it's not only infill, it's aging structures, rehabilitation, and adaptive reuse. And so overlaying these 2 data sets actually is quite revealing. And if you squint your eyes, the part that you really want to look at is where the dots get more dense, because it means that there's generally older housing in those areas. Just for reference, the black dot is housing units built prior to 1960, and the blue dots are, just for a point of comparison, blue dot is housing units built 1990 to 2009. So you can see where, if you squint your eyes, most of the black dots are versus most of the blue dots, and then you can see a mix of where all the housing in between lives. The median household income by census is varied throughout the city. So you can see some areas, the darker pink is higher median income. It's somewhat related to housing age, but not always. So that's something that we want to look at. It's like, on the west side of Joliet, you can see newer housing and higher incomes, but there are some higher incomes in areas where the housing is older, like in the legacy neighborhoods. So this is just a nuance around income and housing, and we haven't quite put it all together yet, but there's some goals and objectives to review related to how we are going to handle that in the future. Also wanted to show you this map about industrial and office development. So just quick explanation. The colored dots are industry market sectors and clusters. So the purple with yellow outline that you can see primarily on the east side of the city is industrial, and this is pipeline, not built. The purple with a white outline is industrial existing. So you can see, if you squint your eyes, areas of the city that are sort of in the existing framework and structure of the city are set up for an increased industrial demand and building. The bigger the dot means the bigger the development. So the biggest dots on the east side of the city have more than 100,000 square feet of industrial and or office development. And then you can see they get progressively smaller, closer to the river, closer to downtown, primarily because the lots are not as big, there's not as much room to develop very, very large scale industrial. So as we move forward in the conversation around the strategies and land use plan and character areas, this is really something to keep in mind. And we should be asking ourselves, based on what we're seeing, are these the right areas where you would like to see additional industrial and office development? Are there areas that are not shown currently that we should be showing? Are there areas that we want to phase out of that type of development pattern, et cetera? So that's economic development. Thoughts and ideas, comments?
I think something that might be good on those maps is, a lot of that industrial development is, as with all cities, right, pushed to the outer edge of their border. It would be great if we could have sort of a high level look at what our neighbors have right along those borders. Because I'm looking at like the 55 and 80 area there, and it's got, big circle transportation, right? Part of that's a housing, there's a recreation area in one of the quadrants of that intersection. One is the village of Shorewood, and it's all residential. And I think if we're going to talk about where we should put that development, and sort of going with that is the city's realignment of wanting to work with their neighbors. We need to know what's in those areas before we say, oh, look, there's an open space, we can just put a whole bunch of industrial there. And it's open Joliet space, but it's residential of our neighboring communities who maybe are not going to be thrilled at the idea of having industrial, right up against their residential development. So I think if we could get a map that has some of that overlay, at least on those, at least along the borders, we don't need their whole comp plan, but just that information of what abuts those areas, it would make that decision-making a lot easier and a lot more thoughtful versus just saying, if you're looking at the map and it's just blank space, it seems like a smart idea, and maybe it's not.
So this is an interesting observation. The other thing that should be entered into the conversation is, what do we do with unincorporated Joliet land? So this is another, put that in the same bucket, will your neighbors be happy? And also, what's the highest and best use of those unincorporated pieces, and do we want to take those on into the city, or have those kind of multi-jurisdictional agreements to develop that together?
I think to Hugh's point, we're sitting on about 41,000 acres. We've got 150,000 residents. I continue to talk about the fact that the city's invested in water to 250,000. And I've talked to the county leaders about making sure we understand what the halo around us looks like, so they don't encroach on. We don't need solar farms where we need houses. We need to be, and to his point, we need to be cognizant to the halo of our community, because I know we're not going to go up for 100,000, but we're going to have to find those strategic spaces. So, good point.
Thank you.
I have a few comments. Going back to, excuse me, to the legacy neighborhoods. I need to take a drink of water. I know that Urban 3, they currently did a study, and there are some findings about redlining, specifically on the east and southeast side of Joliet. So I just wrote a note with some of this information that was found. There may not be some distinct areas on the east and south side of Joliet that might be considered as a legacy residential area because of what has been done to the area, either intentionally or unintentionally. So I wanted to make sure, how can we make sure that as these character zones are established, some of these divested communities are not left out?
Yeah. This is a good comment. So the character areas do not discriminate around those kinds of structural racist policies. It's more about the people, quality, and experience in those particular geographies. So it doesn't necessarily, I think that I'm trying to hold two thoughts in my mind. One is about repair and sort of dealing with past harms, right? And what it did to the neighborhoods when those policies were enacted and for the duration that they were maintained. The second piece of that is a visionary approach that's more aspirational. We're here now, what do we want this to be? How do we want to experience it? And there's a preventative aspect too, right? We want to preserve our neighborhoods. We want our neighborhoods to continue to fulfill our quality of life needs and have amenities that maybe we don't have today, but want to plan for in the future. So I appreciate the historical part, and I think that the harm repair piece does need to happen. And also, it is the intention of the character areas to create an experience of space and place that is equitable and does include those neighborhoods that may have not had the same opportunity in the past.
Okay. And then also, just going through the document, I just made a few notes on specific pages. For the areas where we saw a concentration of the black dots, and this is for the housing age and household income.
Yes.
Is there a way for us to go more micro and also kind of with those dots throughout the area, look at, so on the east side, what's the housing age on the east side? Can we go that a little?
Yeah, we have parcel level data. This is a heat map, just to give you
Okay.
something that is more graphically clear than looking at a zoomed in view. But as we move through this process, we want to give specific recommendations, so we will have to get that granular.
Okay. That's
Other
it for now.
questions or comments? Okay, keep going. Multimodal mobility. There are quite a lot of goals for multimodal mobility because it is a complex and diverse topic. This topic area covers, well, let me read the vision statement first, and then we'll jump into the goals. Joliet envisions a connected, accessible, and sustainable transportation network that moves people and goods safely, efficiently, and equitably. Our vision is to improve mobility to support vibrant neighborhoods, reduce environmental impact, enhance public health, and provide every resident and visitor with reliable, affordable, and seamless options. So the 8 goals really cover a variety of topics. They cover roadways, sidewalks, trail system, transit, accessibility and circulation, connected systems, bridges, et cetera. And many of the objectives talk about ways to create a connected system that enhances what is already happening within the TODC. That study was really important foundationally, and we're thrilled that it happened before this process started, so that the recommendations in the comprehensive plan can build on those that have already been adopted in that TOD plan. You will also see within these goals that there are some specific objectives related to transit infrastructure. We lean heavily on that, and the ability for Joliet residents to move through all parts of the city in a connected and seamless way. Also looking at roadway systems. We have heard, especially in the public workshop, many earfuls about truck traffic and train traffic and the bridges. So this is also addressed in this study. The other piece that we heard quite a bit about is what an asset it is that I think there's 5 or 6 different trail systems that all sort of come very close to downtown Joliet, and what that means for folks that are using those trail systems by bike or walking.
Leslie, point of clarification, it looks like the goals are off. I think we're down to 6 with the document that the committee has. So goal number 3 and 4 and 8 have been combined. And then goals 6 and 7 were also combined.
You're right. Let me read them.
All right.
So we can just all be on the same page. Sorry about that. Goal
The document
1,
you have is what the goals
yeah,
are.
because this has been revised and posted. Goal 1 is enhance road infrastructure for safety and efficiency. Goal 2 is improve traffic flow and connectivity. Goal 3 is encourage public transit and regional connectivity. Goal 4 is enhance transit infrastructure and public awareness. Goal 5 is expand bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure. Goal 6 is enhance bicycle and pedestrian safety. Thank you, Jane. Other thoughts and comments about transportation-related goals and objectives?
I guess I have a comment, and then we might have to go back to the previous slide, because I guess I want the committee to confirm that the goals are what we are going to be launching forward with as the goals for this sub-areas. So, you know, this,
Yes, if
so we need to confirm that these are the goals of the plan. If we have to go back to the previous section, we can, but I want to walk away with these multimodal mobility goals. Do they jive with what you've heard, what the information from the existing conditions report showed, your own experiences? Do these make sense moving forward? Lane.
I think it'll shock no one that I have a lot of thoughts on this. I really enjoyed going through and reading the goals. I think that they very much align with what I've heard professionally, what I've heard from members of the community. I took a couple of notes, just because my bread and butter is multimodal transportation, right? Like I live this, I work this. And I think that there's a couple of things in these goals that I think I'd like to see some additional clarification or just additional information. You know, in the second goal of improving traffic flow and connectivity. Improve traffic flow and connectivity for who? For vehicles, for freight, for trucks, for trains, right? I think that that leaves a little bit of a gray space. And as I'm reading it, and as I was starting to go through and read it, I was like, okay, does this also include bike and ped infrastructure? Obviously, there's a separate goal for that,
Yes.
which is
Yeah.
great and should exist, but I think we need that additional clarification in there. And, you know, again, for encourage public transportation and regional connectivity. What regional connectivity? What does that mean? I think adding that within there is good. And then the last thing that I wanted to add is the sixth goal under multimodal mobility is enhance bike and ped safety. And I think that that is so clearly a great priority, something we want to see, right? We want to make sure that all users of our roadway network are safe, that people don't have concerns about their own safety when they get on a bike, when they go for a walk, when they're driving their car. And that does kind of tie into the first goal of enhance road infrastructure for safety and efficiency. But I would almost like to see us pull safety as its own whole category for every roadway user. I don't care if you're driving a car, I don't care if you're biking, I don't care if you're walking, running, it should be safe, period. So I would really love to see us change 6 to enhance safety for all users of transportation systems and networks and kind of remove that from the first goal. But otherwise, to me, these are really well aligned with what I think I've heard from the community.
Great, thank you.
I think those comments are very good, one. Two, maybe in the presentation, I look at the goals, but shouldn't you state the vision statement first and put that on the left side? Because a number of the things that Elaine's referring to, particularly that moves people and goods safely, efficiently, and equitably, is described in that vision statement. And I think if that's something that you read first and then you read the goals, you still need to define them a little better as you've described. But I think that vision statement helps set the tone, if you will, for how you're going to look at those goals. Because I look at it and say, connected, accessible, and sustainable transportation network that moves people and goods safely, efficiently, and equitably. Those goals need to, excuse, this is a bad pun, drive that.
Exactly.
Sorry.
I like that.
So it sounds like, unless anyone else has anything more to add to this one, that the goals are good. They capture what we want to see, maybe a combining goal 1 and 6 and looking at that. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else? But then I do want to go back to the economic development one.
Okay.
Sorry, just need to make sure.
My statement applies to all of them, putting the vision statement on the left side of the page, because that's the driver, that's the vision that you have. Those goals support that vision. Yes, no?
No, that makes sense, Jim, because you read from left to right, you don't read from right to left. And so having the presentation to represent that on this one.
I don't think it was a left to right thing. I think it was a design choice. That's just graphic design. So I don't think
My eyes go to the bold
This is the
print.
last time you're going to see this presentation.
Yeah, I mean, my eyes automatically go to the bold, the big vision statement first before I go to the goals. But that's just a design element. It's not meant to be read like a normal document.
Until it is.
That's
Maybe that's the
everybody
millennial in
looks
me.
at it differently, yeah.
That's right.
I think for
Yeah, I'm one of those.
I think for this exercise, we want to focus on confirmation of the goals. I will read the documents that you have. Again, this is slightly off. I will read the economic development goals out loud, just so we all can hear them together. Goal 1 is strengthen legacy residential neighborhoods through contextual residential development and preservation of existing homes. Goal 2 is encourage new residential development that is responsive to community needs and demographic changes. Goal 3 is encourage infill development and redevelopment of key commercial corridors. Goal 4 is increase access to quality jobs that provide pathways to upward mobility. Goal 5, bolster downtown Joliet's position as a vibrant, walkable destination for residents, businesses, and visitors. Those are the 5 economic development goals. So we're just looking for confirmation that these are the right goals.
I love them. Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, for me, it screens what we've been saying. It's not an either or way of development. It's an inclusive way of development. We've heard everybody's perspective, and it's not that one-sided way where this is how we do it, this is the only way we will. But I think it reflects what we've heard across, different perspectives. And and it all can happen at the same time.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm seeing nods.
Well, I agree with my millennial friend. I
Why
think
do people always hesitate when they agree with a millennial? Always a hesitation.
You gotta swallow.
And we're dressed alike. We all got quarter zips on.
I was trying to make sure I said the right thing. I think the goals that we've reviewed so far do capture what this committee has talked about.
Great.
Because that's why this committee exists. They all bring a different dimension to the effort. And I think this is reflective of that. And as we continue to work through with the next workshop, these could be tweaked a little bit. There could be something that comes up and we go, wow, how did we miss that? Right?
Yep.
And so whether it's presentation and format and reverse it or whatever, I always read the bold first. Maybe that's because I don't know what I am.
But boomer. You're a great boomer. You're a great boomer.
Nobody wants to say it, right?
I think having those goals, I think we have to be careful about getting too many under each topic, because that implementation or execution that you're talking about becomes extremely difficult if there's too much to do.
Totally agree.
I think we need to make sure that we've honed in on the things that we can accomplish. And we're not there yet, but think about what's the next 1 to 2 years, 3 years, the next 4 to 7, and 7 to 10, or whatever. Because everybody around this room would like to say, okay, let's do all this tomorrow. I mean, literally, that's how I think. How am I going to get that done and when? And I think that's where we're going in this next workshop and the group workshops that are coming up. will help drive this a little bit. But I think what we've seen thus far is what I've heard around this table from all the committee members making their contributions and comments. And again, we don't all agree on the same things necessarily, but that's also why we're around the table, to make sure we can come to some agreement on the approach, but also understand that agreeing today on something, in 18 months from now, our environment might be different, and we need to adjust on the go. So,
Yeah.
that's it.
Thank you for your comments, all absolutely true. This is a living, breathing document, and you should never feel like you are locked in today forever on any of these ideas. Things change. I mean, we've lived through many things that have changed in recent history. So this is not meant to be something that locks you in place. This is meant to be a guide to continue your conversations and continue you moving forward. I agree, we tried to limit 3 to 5 goals. It just gets too unwieldy after that. And we also are getting to the part that I know all of you are very anxiously awaiting, is the how do we do this and when do we do it? So we're inching along, so thank you for your patience. This process is really meant to challenge you and challenge us also as your consultant. There are uncomfortable topics in this document. Ones that we may be hearing for the first time, or maybe we didn't want to know about. That's the exciting part about this process, is having those conversations so that we can create a better future together. And we hope that, just from the voices that we've heard, we read all of the comments of those 2,000 people that filled out the survey, and we were pleased to hear that many of the comments that you have ripple and resonate throughout the community. There's not a lot of difference between what you are saying as the advisory committee and what residents at large are saying. The difference is personal experience and the nuance of words. That's what it comes down to semantics sometimes about how we talk about these issues. And we never discredit or discount when people are talking about the same subject using different words. That's how we create a shared language together, because we have to ask, what do you mean when you say? And that gets us to feel a little bit uncomfortable, but it gets us to the richness that make you excited about using this plan in the future. So thank you for those comments.
Sounds like we're all set on economic development goals?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
So let's go on to future development and land use. I'm going to read the vision statement. Unfortunately, it's on the right side of the slide, but I'll read it first so that we can kick off in the right place. Joliet will grow with purpose. Development builds on the city's strong foundations, its neighborhoods, its industries, and natural assets, creating places that connect people to opportunity and reflect Joliet's history, character, and spirit of progress. And I will go ahead and read the goals out loud as well. There may be a little bit of word choice changes that we've made. Goal 1 is strengthen and celebrate Joliet's distinct character areas. Goal 2 is modernize the regulatory environment to support equitable, efficient, and adaptable growth. Goal 3 is ensure equitable access and preservation of community assets and amenities. Goal 4 is preserve the authenticity of Joliet's neighborhoods and celebrate their history and culture. And Goal 5 is concentrate development in activity centers and corridors. Goal 6 is plan for sustainable and resilient growth and create equitable land use patterns. And Goal 7 is encourage development of innovation districts that balance workforce and development opportunities. And I'm just sharing an existing land use map for reference in case there's something here that you'd like to talk about. Thoughts about the goals?
The alarm.
Go back to the goals slide.
Sure.
Number 2, you read, I know it was different from what's on the slide.
Yep.
What was number 2 again?
Modernize the regulatory environment to support equitable, efficient, and adaptable growth. So this goal is really about updating the zoning ordinance.
I was gonna say, it just sounds, it's worded difficult for the average user, I believe. I don't know if there's a simpler way to say it so that, most of the.
Yeah, can we just say revise?
Yeah, but I'm like,
So it's more than zoning, though. It also includes a subdivision ordinance. So maybe we need to say zoning and associated ordinances. This is a problem with the regulatory stuff, is that it's hard to simplify it beyond what it actually is, because it is more than zoning. So I am happy to take a shot at de-jargoning this, because it always is annoying and frustrating when that happens. It's just more words. So I think that maybe descriptive, what I hear you saying is that descriptive is better, so that it's easier to understand.
yeah.
Okay.
I would also say, I would look at the objectives, that there's
Yeah.
6 of them that fall
It does-
underneath goal
yeah.
2, and I think if you see the range of the objectives and then pair it with not the version that's up there, but that's the
Yes.
one that's in the document, then I think you can kind of see where we're going with goal 2.
Oh, so it clears up the fog. Good deal.
It
That's my
uses
opinion,
that-
but I'd like you to look at it, and then
Yeah.
you can.
It
you can
uses
always make
clearer
changes.
language.
I agree with Jane.
Yes.
If you're just looking at the goal without looking at the objectives, we could sort of wordsmith all day, but
Yeah.
I think this is supposed to be the overarching, and then your objectives are going to kind of dial in a little bit further, so.
Yeah. I mean, just for reference, so we're all on the same page. Objective 2.1 is update the zoning ordinance, essentially. I'm going to summarize because there's a lot of words. Objective 2.2 is create flexibility in the zoning code to support the kind of development that we want to see. Objective 2.3 is support predictable, transparent development review processes that are, aligned with community goals. Objective 2.4 is also about development standards and continuity. It also references infrastructure capacity, which is related to density and population growth. Objective 2.5 is about collaboration within the government, local and regional governments. Objective 2.6 is integrate unincorporated areas, and we haven't decided how we want to do that. This is an objective of this process. That's it. There's 6 objectives. So it's a little more rich than just the zoning ordinance, but the point I'm taking away is make sure we're de-jargoning so that it's understandable.
Yep.
I am okay with the goals. One of the things that I think, and I don't know if it needs to be said or not, is that staffing, zoning officials, planning and boards and councils need to adopt and understand the updated zoning to ensure future development projects are not delayed or denied, especially if these projects adhere to the updated zoning measurements. So I don't know if we need to include that, but I do think sometimes, even though there are updates made, there's still some resistance. So I don't know if we should also include that in the objectives.
So updating the zoning ordinance, I know all of you know this, but I'm just gonna say it out loud. Updating the zoning ordinance is a completely separate planning process,
Yeah.
right? That's another year of your life. And it's a totally different public engagement process, and it is, you won't see us here for that one. But what you're saying is absolutely true, and should be a part of that process. The other piece is that when we get to strategies, part of what you're saying can be in there also. Because you're saying multiple things. You're talking about a development review process and consistency with whatever that new zoning ordinance is. And you're also talking about education, awareness, and enforcement. So those are all pieces and parts of strategy. How do we do this? People have to know how to use this document and also what to do to get to the accomplishment of the goals. So yes, yeah.
So I think that's captured will be captured, sorry, as part of the approval process for this plan, because this plan has to go before the council. The council is the oversight for the whole city, and all the departments are within that, and I think that plan then would be communicated out so that there is that understanding. This is your driving document to do whatever it is your responsibility is within city government, in this case, to implement.
Yes.
And I think that somehow, maybe I missed it. I didn't see that in the document that says bring it to the city council for approval.
It's in the scope of work. It's in the contract with us.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
There's also a couple supplemental opportunities during that approvals process. One of them is to conduct a training with folks that'll be using this document so that they can understand what it is and how to use it. And another thing that we generally do is just create some scenarios, like what if you had this issue, or what if you encountered this particular problem, how would you use the comprehensive plan to solve it? So that's just to give you, and we just make up scenarios that we've sort of heard during the planning process. So we will include that in some of the, once we get a little bit further down the road in the how to use this plan piece, you'll see some of those scenario planning ideas pop up. And if you have, part of the training also is if you're encountering opportunities that you think the comprehensive plan can address. A big one that we always hear is like a developer wants to bring fill in the blank development and we don't know if we like it or not. How can the comprehensive plan, help us sort of either defend our position or support the developer, that kind of thing. Like how can it be used for conversation purposes and enforcement purposes for maintaining the character we're trying to establish in our city? So it'll be those kinds of things.
How targeted will this future development land use plan be to the point where we could bring developers in and show them a color map that says, this is what we want here, this is what we want here, and then specific developers will look at that parcel?
Yes.
Are we going to get that targeted with this in the end?
Yes. And that's currently what it is, parcel level.
So, yeah, we won't have all these appeals.
Well, you'll still have appeals, I'm sorry.
Not a miracle. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, the future land use map will show what the community, what this process is identified as the suggested desired land use. It's in the comprehensive plan. Now, that's different from what the zoning designation is, so the future land use map will hit on areas that aren't part of our city limits right now, so we'll be identifying what would be the desired future land use of those parcels, those areas. It'll also look at existing areas of the city, and maybe, in the year 2026, we're coming on 2026, what do we think that this area should be, this, land use now? And then that zoning, that will be a guide then for city staff to think, well, now we need to think about, do we do a rezoning of that area as an overlay district? So that, which gets to your appeal, like the appeal part would still come through the zoning process. So there still will always be two maps unless, the zoning map really does, that's a big process too, but it's one that I think we're aspiring to.
So if something's I-1 and we want it to go R3, that's a zoning change.
That's a zoning change.
That's where we bring it up in
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
And that's where the council has.
So goals confirmed?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
The next topic is environment and natural resources. And the vision statement is, Joliet envisions a connected, inclusive system of parks and open spaces that celebrates the city's industrial heritage while restoring its ecological foundations. And I'll read these goals. Goal 1 is improve equitable access to comfortable parks and open space. Goal 2 is support and protect waterways, wetlands, and ecological corridors. And goal 3 is strengthen the connection between public health, green infrastructure, and open space planning. And there's a couple maps in here also, just to share. One of them is distribution versus need of open space. So this map, we've had a lot of conversation about it. Basically what it's saying is most of the city is fairly well served by parks, and that there are some areas that could be better served, but this map is based on population density. So there's generally the areas of greatest need for parks also have the highest density of population, which you'll see is primarily in the center of the city. In areas that are less dense, there is less need for parks, so that's why there are some areas of this map that are not colored in, essentially. And this is really based on population density. It's not saying there are no parks in that area, it's saying that the parks that are there are adequate. So in the more dense areas of the city, there is an opportunity to add more green space, or consider more green space, but the city is well served by parks. That's the takeaway. This map really talks about floodplain and ecological corridors. I mean, Joliet has a very interesting ecology, and so our consultant wanted to highlight where those sensitive areas of the city were, because you may want to consider treating them differently when it comes to development. And that's a conversation that is ongoing, but we've written it into the goals and objectives, that this is a really important part of how the city can remain sustainable. This map is about air quality, so you can see the areas where there is where there is better air quality are on the south side of the city and west sides of the city, and areas where, I mean, you can imagine there's just more opportunity for pollutants. You will see that PM 2.5, which is a measure of air quality particles in the air, is higher on generally the north side of the city. The middle part of the city is where the sort of medium orange is, means that there is an average amount of, the air quality is fine, but there is an average amount of particulate in the air. This is not unusual in urban areas, and it's not necessarily something to be hugely concerned about, because we are people living in a city and we are making, some of this. So just by living here, there is a little bit of some compromise of air quality, but in areas where you're seeing higher levels of particulate, it's something to be aware of, because there could be potentially public health impacts. The reason why we decided to do this analysis is to help our decision-making around land use, where and what is causing those areas that could be compromising air quality. So this is awareness raising, and then the policies that come out of this, we can determine those together. There are many more maps in the document. I just wanted to show you a couple that highlighted specific issues in the city.
Do you think it would be worth adding a goal about connecting the transportation network to making environmentally beneficial decisions, like streetlight timing or all the other things CMAQ qualifies for? But the less truck idling we can have within the city limits, the better for air quality. And I think that map highlights that it's largely where you see a lot of truck idling messes with the particulates in the air. And I think that the connection between those two probably needs to be highlighted in some way in that section. And I'm trying to come up with like a verbiage for it, but
Yeah, well, I agree, and then thinking maybe goal 3, which the wording up there is slightly different. It's strengthen the connection between public health, green infrastructure, and open space planning. Maybe there's an opportunity there to have an objective related to making that connection more explicit.
Yeah, wherever
Yeah,
it
okay.
would be appropriate, but I think that needs to be highlighted in the environment part because that's something that normally environment and natural resources, everybody gravitates towards the parks, open space, waterway. But if we want to talk about air quality, then we've got to talk about the transportation network.
Okay.
Even for the vision statement, I think it's definitely celebrating the city's industrial heritage, but also celebrating the people. I think people should be included in that for the environment and natural resources.
So there's a whole chapter on people. Spoiler. We just haven't gotten there yet. Let's go through that chapter, then you tell me if you still think it should be here.
Okay.
Any other comments about the goals and then related to the objectives that are within the environment and natural resources topic area?
I think I just have a general question. At what point are we supposed to be giving feedback on the objectives? I mean, I know we're doing high level right now. I don't want to completely derail us, but
I mean, I think now if you have specific objectives, I mean, if it's little wordsmithing things, I think we can work with you offline, but if it's big picture that I think we're missing an objective, I mean, I'd like to have that discussion now.
Okay.
We also will be looking at the objectives at the workshops in December or in January. But if it's, so I guess it's your choice if you want the committee or if you want to vet it during a workshop.
I think workshops are a good
Okay.
idea.
Okay.
Okay. So thumbs up on these goals. Yes, okay. So let's talk about utilities and infrastructure. We have 3 goals for this chapter, or sorry, let me read the vision statement first.
Those are repeating, yes, sorry, the previous slide for some reason.
Okay, well, let's just pay attention to the vision statement on this slide then.
Okay.
The city's infrastructure from sewers to communication resources will be well-maintained, equitably paid for, and anticipate future needs of the community. And I'll go ahead and read the goals out loud for utilities and infrastructure. Goal 1 is improve Joliet's capacity to deliver the infrastructure needed to support projected growth and development. Goal 2 is ensure long-term water security and affordability. Goal 3 is modernize wastewater and stormwater systems. Those are the 3 goals for utilities and infrastructure. I will say for this chapter that the work that Urban 3 has done helped influence some of the work that we put in this chapter so that those 2 reports are consistent and that the comprehensive plan can lend sort of support and weight to the implementation of the recommendations of that report. There's just a couple maps in here also that we pulled from the goals and objectives. One is flood susceptibility. There should be no surprises here. It's based on the waterways that run through the city. And urban heat island, similarly, these are hotspots in the city, primarily based on density, but could also be based on where the tree canopy is reduced. So that's something to be considered as we move through this process, is if recommendations should be made or how open space and the tree canopy can support infrastructure and reducing the heat island effect. Since these are not the right goals, I'm happy to read them again to make sure that you all feel comfortable with them. Would that be helpful?
Yes.
Okay. Yes? Okay. Goal 1 is improve Joliet's capacity to deliver the infrastructure needed to support projected growth and development. Goal 2 is ensure long-term water security and affordability. And goal 3 is modernize wastewater and stormwater systems. I'm seeing nodding. Okay.
One thing with the equitable access, I think equitable access to internet services is something that needs to be under utilities.
It's included in
Is it,
here.
is it, okay, sorry.
It's under, like 1.3.
I just wanted to make sure that one was, looking at the goals and remembering what's.
Yeah, the objective is expand broadband access, especially to east side neighborhoods or underserved neighborhoods.
I think having the ability to have multiple providers is a key to that.
And the recognition of the fact that there's not actually good cell phone signal in certain pockets of the city. I mean, we had to add cell phone boosters in a couple of our schools because there's zero cell phone capacity within those buildings because there are pockets where the towers don't reach, so.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a broadband access map in the document and talks about expanding reliable, high-speed internet citywide and closing existing service gaps.
Excuse me. I would agree with Q, though. More, how do I want to say, suppliers of internet access would be a good thing.
Okay?
That potential. I'm not sure if that was what you just said.
Yeah, 'cause
No, I said something totally
'cause
different.
I know the definition of like high-speed internet, at least for like the state, when you're talking about, do you have access to high-speed internet? Their definition of access and actual access are widely different things. You know, like, we've got areas just outside or unincorporated where, you know, they have quote access to high-speed internet, but it's maybe like 3G cell service or something like that. So
the comprehensive plan is not able to govern
no, I understand
private
that.
industries come, but I want, can you just clarify sort of like how you think the comprehensive plan can address this issue?
I think just stating that it's a goal to make sure that we have equitable access to high-speed internet.
Got it.
As long as
Got it.
that's
Okay.
listed as a goal, I think that's important.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't expect the comp plan to bring us multiple ISPs.
Yep.
So something like, you know, equitable access and diverse group of providers. I mean, I think that can cover that at the same time. It addresses both things.
Yeah.
So
We can, I think, so that provider's part is a recommend, it's like we moving into
would like that.
implementation.
We would
Yeah,
like
so I
that.
think
Yeah.
we're,
we would like that, yeah.
we'll make sure that that's included as a
That could be under
recommendation.
objective 1.3 can just be expanded to include both of those statements.
Yeah.
You know, I want to digress for 1 second, back to your point, multiple providers. At Bishop's Hill, AT&T considers it a campus, and they just showed up out of the blue and said, we're interested in providing internet service. I think that leads to it helps address the affordability issue. If we have good competition with providers, there's going to be better service.
Sure.
Not just one service, not just, so, you know, as a goal or as a suggestion. I think it's just good for everybody, competition.
Yep.
At this point, after water, if you don't have internet service. I mean, I'm sure Dr. Rouse can highlight what happened during COVID.
Oh, that was special, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and there's an aspect of, we all expect to have access, but not everybody has access.
Right.
And so, you know, at some point, when does internet access become just ubiquitous and it's just part of what's available in a city versus what I have to pay for separately? Do you know what I'm saying? Because there are cities who have done just full-scale coverage of their surroundings. But I'm not saying that we need to go there, but the realities are, there's an aspect of, the expectation is that we have ubiquitous coverage of high-speed internet access, and we don't. I mean, there are some areas here in town that even the hotspots that we give to students to use from home because they don't have internet access don't work, because there's not infrastructure for it to work. So, yeah, so there are layers to that issue that are more than just more providers or anything. There are multiple layers to what that issue looks like for certain pockets in this community. And it's random weird pockets where there are limited cell phone signal capacity.
Are those pockets identified? Do we know where those lags
Yes,
are?
we have a map in the document that shows where those gaps are. I mean, I'm confused why we even have this conversation about the internet. Like, something that's a critical service should be just as a utility. You know,
Thank
like
you.
Electricity comes to your house and internet should come to your house, but
Thank you.
that's just.
That would be great.
That's
I
what I
tried
mean
to
by
stay agnostic, but.
That's what I mean by should be that it should just be there. So yes, yes. Amen to that. Just saying.
Okay, so I think we're good there. Let's talk about people, culture, and belonging. This is the last chapter in the document before the community-driven priorities. So the vision statement for people, culture, and belonging is Joliet is a city where every resident feels a sense of belonging. Its people, cultures, and stories are visible in the public spaces, events, and neighborhoods that bring the community together. The city celebrates its diversity, honors its history, and supports creativity as a vital part of civic life, building pride and connection.
These are all good.
Okay, great. So for people, culture, and belonging, the 5 goals are, goal 1 is strengthen neighborhood identity. Goal 2 is expand access and engagement with arts and culture. Goal 3 is improve access to civic and engagement opportunities. Goal 4 is build on Joliet's cultural identity and regional presence. And goal 5 is center community pride and prosperity in welcoming environments and inclusive public life.
And I will let you know that I highlighted Joliet's greatest strength is its people.
Great. These are good. Do you guys like these? I like this one. Any other questions or comments?
I do have a comment, and I think it's a little bit directed directly at city employees. For our city to be so diverse, I mentioned that city employees should also reflect the diversity of the city, especially higher level management positions where decisions for the city are made, which impact our diverse residents.
This came up in a focus group, actually. It's a good one. Okay. Are these good? Confirmed? Fantastic. Okay, so the last piece of this is really, well, it's the last piece of this presentation. It's actually the start of a conversation around key recommendations. There were several priorities that sort of bubbled to the top based on all of this information that is in this document. One second. Yeah. Based on the, a variety of information that's in this document. And so these are
7 priorities that we will continue to investigate together as we move into the key recommendations phase of this process. These are priorities that from the key topic areas that are in this document, all the public engagement work that we've done and the voices that we've heard, these are the priorities that keep coming up over and over again. They're topics that people keep saying, we want to talk about this more, essentially, and help these overarching priorities sort of frame out the beginning of these key recommendations. The first one is about strong neighborhoods and housing stability, and these are big bucket issues, right? These are not, we're not drilling down to strategies yet. We just know that this is super important, and so we're going to keep talking about it and keep workshopping it together. The second priority is economic opportunity and local investment. So this also includes workforce, this includes hiring, this includes all those different pieces and parts. This includes business attraction and retention, et cetera. Priority 3 is about mobility and access across the city. And this is multimodal, right? So how do we connect, in a variety of different ways, and making sure that it is also safe. Priority 4 is cultural and historic identity. Joliet is very diverse. It's something that almost everyone says is one of the greatest parts about living here is just exposure to many different people from many different backgrounds in many different ways and environments. And so this is something that we want to keep talking about. Priority 5 is sustainability and environmental resilience. Joliet has a number of ecological factors that make it a unique place in the region that are really important in terms of how you move towards the future and how you developed sensibly and sustainably. Priority 6 is equity through public investment. You're doing that now. What else do we want to do? How do we want to continue growing the city, growing the population, making sure that we're set up for success, in 1, 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now. And the last priority is community connection and belonging. We want people that love it here to stay here. We want people to know that Joliet is a great place and to move here. And we want to make sure that we're connected to each other as we're doing this work.
So number 6 says investing in all neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's investing in all neighborhoods. So think about these. You don't have to have an answer now. These are ideas. And we'd like you to help us understand what these priorities mean as we move into the next phase of the project and how we want to, a couple things we can do. One is rank them, and we will be doing this in our next workshop. Which one of these should we focus on first, second, third, fourth? Right now they are in random order. These are just, we pick these out. The second thing is, if there are thoughts, ideas, and feelings that you have that we haven't talked about yet, this next phase is the right time to do that, because we're going to start talking about the how in the next phase of this. So that's your homework between now and our next advisory committee meeting. This is just a blip of where we are, where we're going. So we are starting phase 3. The little arrows at the top, I think, should move a month or so. But we're going to be starting, this is our December advisory committee meeting. We are going to be starting working groups in December and January, and then we're planning for a February public workshop. And then key recommendations will happen for that duration as well, concurrent to the workshops, capturing the outcomes of the working groups as well as any other comments that we're receiving on this document. That's all I got today. Thank you.
Okay. Right. Thank you, Leslie. Sure. Rayag. Next agenda item is the upcoming thematic workshops. So, just as a reminder, starting Monday, and then on Tuesday, we have our first set of workshops. The first is the Housing and Neighborhoods Workshop. All the workshops, again, are here at City Hall Council Chambers. They all start at 6:30 PM. And we are encouraging people to pre-register. This is on the city's website, on the project webpage, again, how you can pre-register. I know people have asked for individual invitations. I know you, Diana. We are hoping to get that to you this week, to push those out for the workshops that haven't, that are immediately coming up. We are pushing this out in other ways, so encourage people who are interested and passionate about these topic areas to come to these workshops. And so, just so you know, that I have, myself and Francisco's been helping me with the workshops. We have met with the Housing and Neighborhoods co-leaders as well as the Transportation and Mobility co-leaders, so I will be meeting with the other co-leaders for the different workshops too, which is for the priority is to get these two off and going, which are already Monday and Tuesday of next week, and we'll be talking about those after this meeting. Does anyone have any questions at this time about the upcoming workshops? Yes.
Yeah, just curious, how are the attendants looking at this point?
I don't have the numbers at this point in time. Yeah. I know the housing, I can say the housing one, I think last week we talked about I had 30 or signed up or more.
I don't remember the exact number, but
Yeah.
it's, you know.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
We're talking to the realtors tomorrow. Jane's gonna attend our Zoom meeting for government affairs and reaffirm the importance of members coming out and to share it with their networks too.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then, is it kind of the thought that the leaders of each group are kind of driving their attendance for those, or how is that?
Yes,
Okay.
I mean, we are all leaning on each other to push out the message and to, if you think someone would really add value to the workshops, please encourage them to come. Yep.
Be a leader, Chris.
Yep, I'll try.
Any other questions about the workshops?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well then, I'm gonna move on to staff report. So I just have a couple things. First is that city will be working with Dr. Rouse to do a special, I wouldn't call it a workshop, it's a roundtable with the area superintendents of high school districts and grade school districts, as well as parochial schools, to talk about the implications of land use, housing, and some workforce economic development. So it's been scheduled for January 9th, and it's a breakfast meeting, and we're excited to do that, to really make sure we're responding to our families and students and districts in all parts of the city. Two is we are scheduling public workshop number 2. That is going to occur in February. I did send an email out to everyone, maybe it was yesterday or the day before, honing in on some dates. And I've heard back from 7 people as of this morning about, if they can attend any of the dates that were suggested. I did hear, and looking at you now, Jen, specifically, I want to know, is there any major conflicts too with some of these suggested evenings, which Jen pointed out that February 24th is off now at this point, because that's the Chamber of Commerce's annual awards event. So we will not be focusing on that evening for a public workshop. So we had wanted to do the second workshop at Joliet Central High School. I have communicated with JTHS, and Joliet Central High School cannot accommodate a workshop in February due to construction that's going on right there at the Student Center area. So we have landed on the Joliet Library as the alternate location for public workshop number 2. It will likely be, they had 2 nights available, so it'll probably be either February 11th or 26th. So we are continuing to hone in on probably one of those 2 dates. So I'll send a reminder email out to those who haven't filled out the poll about dates, so we could focus in on those 2 at that point in time. That's all I have for my staff comments. Does anyone have any questions for me related to those two things?
Downtown library.
Yes, yeah, good question. Downtown library. In the Burnham room, second floor. Okay, next would be member comments. Does anyone have anything to share for the group?
I do,
Yes.
and it's somewhat related, I think, to our comprehensive plan because it's about development. So we're getting closer on our two new junior highs. We'll be setting ribbon cutting dates for the week of August 10th. I'll make sure everybody knows, it'll be widely broadcast. But we're also scheduling on April 18th from 10 to 12, community open houses at both the old Hufford and the old Gompers. For people to have a chance to come and like walk through one last time, you know? We're gonna try to have some students there to be guides, to walk with small groups around the buildings. We figured that 2-hour stretch, if people wanted to hit both buildings, they'd have plenty of time. It's just to come walk through and go. So we're gonna be widely putting that out to the community.
What's
as
happening
well.
to the buildings?
The old buildings will be torn down. The new buildings are being built right next door to them, and they're gonna be fabulous, so.
And then
it's-
will the old buildings, the land will it be open space, or is there something that will be built there?
They're either athletic fields or parking lots, depending on what the
Okay.
need is at the building. So Hufford will end up with a full competition size track. So we'll have that capacity, and at Gompers, there'll be a competition size soccer field that will be put in over there. Both buildings the new buildings will be functioning on geothermal heating and cooling. So we've already done the well drilling over at Hufford. We're gonna be doing the well drilling at Gompers once the old building comes down. That will save us up to 70%, they're saying, on our utility bills, which is gonna be fabulous. And we're gonna be, I actually started some conversation last night with somebody on the Arts Commission. I wanna get some local artists involved with looking at the outside walls of the gymnasiums are great canvases for murals. So I'm gonna be connecting with the Arts Commission to get some local artists involved to do some conceptual drawings for us of what they would wanna do, how we could maybe incorporate students in helping with that to get those murals up and going as well. If you haven't been by Gompers, we're using the new gym now. It's been amazing. Everybody loves it. Every athletic team in the area wants to come do their middle school games there because it's the brand new shiny thing, right? But the other piece of our referendum included an addition onto Jefferson Elementary of a gymnasium and 4 additional classrooms. That work will begin with the groundbreaking on the last day of school on June 1st. And the construction will begin hot and heavy over the summer with a 1-year completion of that. So we're going out to bid for contractors in April, I believe, is the time. So keep your eye out. So we're moving along on all of that development. So in the Jefferson Elementary, that's over on Glenwood. So if you're not familiar with where that's at. So they'll get a full-size gymnasium and 4 additional classrooms along the right side of the building. And we're actually building a parking lot in the back part of there that will have a way for drop-off and pickup of students in the car rider line to get it off Glenwood. And onto, because it's a challenge, yes, it's a challenge over there. So that process will help as well. So we're trying to do our part to help out with those things. So the goal to have those all done, everything to be done with all 3 of those projects by June 30th of 27 when I'm retiring from the district. So yay. Tie a button.
Congratulations.
And go. So it's all good.
Can I get my old locker from Gompers?
Your gym lockers at the hall.
The gym lockers from Gompers are already in use over there, yeah.
Wow.
So we donated those so they could use them at the training facility, so,
Awesome.
yeah. So we also, unfortunately, are gonna be, because of declining enrollment, we are gonna be starting to host public hearings this month, next month, and in February at Marshall Elementary. Right now, our enrollment there we're only at 32% capacity of the building. It does not make sense to keep a building that old, challenging to maintain, functioning with only 32% capacity. I could move all of those children right now over 4 blocks over to Singleton, and Singleton only be at 74% capacity.
Wow.
So our enrollment has declined. When I first came, we were at 12,000 students. We're at 9,100 right now. And it's birth rates. So there's and that's a nationwide issue with birth rates. But so the board would do the 3 public hearings, and the board would be having to make a decision on closing Marshall at the February board meeting. Wouldn't close it till the end of the school year. But there's right around 200 students there currently. So, yeah. But we have the capacity at the newer facility over at Singleton to take them in, so I could move them today and not have a problem, but we'll finish the year, so. Anyway, so that's some school district economic development that's on the table.
Great news.
I think it's good stuff, yeah, so,
Tremendous leadership. Thank you.
thank you.
So, Jane, the only thing that I have is that the East and Southeast Regional Alliance, we're having our meeting the same night as the second workshop. So our December Christmas celebration is December 9th, and it's the exact same time, 6:30.
Yeah. Anyone from your organization who could still come?
I
Talk
can,
about that, but,
I can chat.
yeah. Okay.
But you're gonna be at housing, right?
I will be at housing.
Yeah.
A lot of the businesses on Ruby, Cass, Collins are struggling right now. So during the holidays, please consider supporting our local small businesses. Host your holiday luncheons there at some of our local restaurants. And next week, we're starting an initiative called Lunch with Leda. So trying to encourage our local leaders to come in and have lunch at the different restaurants that are part of our network that have told us that they're struggling a bit right now. So we're trying to drive more customers their way. So our first one is Tamales Corina on Ohio Street on Wednesday at 12. If you all could please join us next Wednesday, that would be amazing. I'll send out personal invitations as well. But we're trying to start this initiative so that way we could get our communities to start posting the different small businesses in our area and try to drive in more customers.
And this can all be found on Facebook too?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Excellent.
Okay, anyone else? All right, next to be public comment. Anyone here? No? Okay. Anyone here would like to address the committee under public comment? All right, seeing none.
Sounds to me like everybody has contributed everything they wanted to or need to this morning, so we'd call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I heard a so move from
Caesar,
second from Elaine. Second from Elaine.
We can do it all in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by, the ayes have it.
No, let's say, come on.
All right, Leslie, let's make sure our car is still there.
Meeting is adjourned.
Meeting is adjourned.
Those people are off the committee.
Very good.